Outdoor Radio on iHeartMedia and, yep, Fox Sports. I've got our buddy Doug up in St. George, Utah on this week's newsletter. Doug, great newsletter today. I'm absolutely stunned at a four pound crappie out there in Kansas.
Oh yeah, oh
What
yeah. That's
what's
a
going on
biggie.
around the country?
Well, around the country, we'll start in Arizona to let everybody know that the Canyon Creek Fish Hatchery is closed to the public because they found New Zealand mud snails in their water. So that's when they get that cleaned up, I guess they'll reopen. But until then, in California, the Fishery Council closes California and parts of Oregon salmon fishing in 2023. Now, we've been talking about salmon problems on the West Coast for quite some time, and California is probably hit the hardest, uh, aside from Alaska. So this is a problematic situation. Salmon are just not having a good time, and I think that's mostly because of the runs up some of these streams. They end up getting stopped and they can't produce like they normally would produce. So that's sad. At any rate, I think some of these states are working on that kind of thing, taking down some of these dams that are keeping the fish from rolling up, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you keeping
Uh,
an eye on that. That's something we've talked to Reuben Payne and on the Kasilof River up in Soldotna on the Kenai
yeah,
Peninsula. So,
right, right. In the state of Washington, they had a report out now on their wolf packs and breeding pairs. And this year they've had an increase in the number of wolves, 216 wolves in 37 packs. That's slightly larger than it was last year. Like I mentioned on the show, I'd like to hear what James has got to say about wolves in Arizona.
yeah.
Um, let's move on down. Just a kind of a side note, you might say, because I'm familiar with this. Back east, the tributaries, rivers, et cetera, coming off the Great Lakes, this is the time of year when walleye really start coming up the rivers to reproduce. So I know what that's like. I've been out there on those rivers. It's an amazing run sometimes, big walleyes in some cases, but you can really do well this time of year. And as you mentioned, Don, the state record for Kansas, the white crappie, 4.07 pounds. That's a big fish.
Well, that's huge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was Kansas Department of Wildlife did certify this, so good news for that fisherman. There are more moose hunting permits now for 2023 up in Vermont. So if you hunt Vermont for moose, they have some permits available up there.
Wow.
And I saw this, Don. I don't know. I was looking at, it's called crossbreed holsters. They call it a revolutionary mag carrier, which will accept multiple different designs or manufacturers in this particular holster. I thought it was kind of unique. That's the first time I've seen that kind of thing. Because most of the time you got to buy a holster specifically for the brand you're using.
Well, these are talking about mag carriers.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Neat. Moving on down, there is an effort now it's in front of Congress to modernize laws and increase funding to combat aquatic invasive species. Stumbled on that one. So it's a point of interest. It's not anything really that's going on yet. It's got to be approved. But it's kind of neat that they're looking at more broad scope, if you will, on aquatic invasive species.
Well, the aquatic invasive species issue, Doug, has been a big deal with the zebra mussels, the quagga mussels, and even plants. You're talking about plant life all over the place. In the south, and even here on the Colorado River, we had an issue with some invasive species, plant species that were abruptly dealt with. Thank goodness. So, yeah.
Great.
The ASA, the American Sport Fishing Association, keeps pretty good tabs on that, but I don't know that any state in the West. I don't know how. I really haven't kept track of it back east of the Mississippi River, but out here in the West, one of the big problems that we have is like gun laws. Each state is different. It's not universally cookie cuttered from state to state to state. So, in other words, what you do in Arizona is not the same thing you do in California, and they don't recognize what you do in Arizona or Nevada or Oregon. I mean, everybody's got their own protocols on clean, drain, and dry inspections and cleansing. So it's going to be interesting to see where this money's spent. Personal opinion. My personal opinion is, in closing, is this is going to go into a black hole.
Well, we'll keep tabs on it as it pops up. We'll get it in the newsletter. See what goes on.
It's one of those things. Non-Indigenous Aquatic Nuisance Prevention and Control Act.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
We've got $148 billion recreational fishing industry in the U.S. and this isn't news, and I don't know why the Fishing Wire is coming up with this, much less this new ANSTF Aquatic Nuisance Species Task Force. It sounds like more people justifying their paychecks. Personally,
I was thinking the same thing. It's just another organization to create payroll.
Yep.
Okay. Well, back in Arizona, you are directly involved in this thing. Where Jim Lawrence over there in the Arizona Deer Association is looking for volunteers to help with a solar project that's going on. You might want to comment on that, Don.
Yeah, thank you for that. The Arizona Deer Association is doing work up on the expanse of the Oaxaca Ranch, which is a few miles south of Winslow, Arizona, south of the I-40. This kicks off, we'll be up staging on May the 5th. The project actually goes on the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. 3 meals a day provided by the Arizona Deer Association. And what we're building is a 30,000-watt solar array to supply power to a big pump that's pumping water about, it's probably a mile and a half up to the Hilltop tank, which is a huge water storage tank that feeds 42 miles of pipeline and approximately 40 drinkers that are spread out over that 42 miles of pipeline for wildlife and livestock. Very, very important. That's a very dry part of the country, and livestock and wildlife depend on those drinkers. So if you have any questions or want to do it, you can get a hold of Jim at azdeer.org. Like I said, we'll furnish 3 meals a day and all the blisters you can handle. It's a great project.
Well, he's looking for volunteers. You can also get a hold of Jim at 623-764-0249. I'm sure he'd welcome your phone call.
Yeah, call him at home after 10. Yep, cool.
Yeah. Under the wildlife category, it's rare that we see anything when we talk about wolverines. They rarely show up. They're not that visible. They had one cross a road, and if you click that picture, you get to see a video of a wolverine crossing a road. So interesting information. And And lastly, I saw this, and I don't know where I saw this. This new firearm from Carr Firearms Group announces a 360 Buckhammer BFR. Wow, what a gun. This is an amazing, even on the video you can see just how powerful this weapon really is. And it comes in a variety of calibers. In fact, I even thought about picking up